bark on it, right? Now, what's going to attach one of those leaves to that brown stem? What part of the leaf? It's up here on the board. The petiole. All right? So would you say that that leaf on that plant is, now you look at the descriptions, is it a simple leaf, a palmately compound, or a pinnately compound leaf?
It's simple.
It's simple. Why? That's the correct answer. Just going to be clear why that is the case.
Because there's only one blade.
There's only one part to the leaf blade. Okay? Now, that's the only example I'm going to go over with you, but I would encourage you, before you leave lab today, to determine what the leaf type is for every specimen that's in that pan. Although, on lab exam 2, you shouldn't assume that these are the only possible leaves that you would see on that test. So you have to know this terminology. So next, pick up the rose. Now it's got thorns, so be careful. But everybody should be able to recognize the rose, if for no other reason, because of the thorns. Now on this plant, the stem is probably not going to be brown. I'm pretty sure it's going to be green, because we did use the ends of branches instead of at the base. Now find one petiole branching off of that stem, and what's attached to that petiole? Remember, we have a constant. What's attached to one petiole? One leaf. Is that leaf blade in parts, or is there only one part?
Parts.
There's multiple parts. Now read the description and tell me, is that leaf pinnately or palmately compound?
Palmately.
You see the description? It's pinnately compound. Because the leaflets, I'll hold this up. The leaflets are these things that you and I thought were leaves when we were younger, are arranged how? At intervals along the petiole. Everybody okay with that one? Now let's get the other example. There's an ornamental plant in that pan that many homes have. And if it's not at in somebody's home that you've seen it, it's probably been in some commercial building. It's called a Schefflera. This is what it looks like. So you hold your specimen up so I can make sure that you're looking at the right specimen. All right. This table over here, y'all, let me see. That's it. All right. Now, grab one petiole. How many leaves are you holding? One. Is the blade divided into parts?
Yes.
And those parts are called leaflets. But now, note how the leaflets are attached to the petiole. Is it at intervals along the petiole or something different?
Something different at one point.
All of the leaflets are attached at one point at the end of the petiole. Would you agree with that description?
Yes.
So what kind of leaf is that? What type of leaf is that?
Palmately.
Palmately compound. Okay, so there's been one example for all three of those categories. Lab exam 2, you have to know the 3 leaf types. Questions?
What was it called? The palmately?
Compound. Oh, that's a Schefflera. Schiffelera. Schefflera. But I want to caution you about just looking at these leaves in the pan. That test is 3 weeks away. I'm guessing that there's going to be some plants that are going to be leafing out by then that are different than these. But the same leaf types will exist on those plants. Item C, leaf arrangement. This is a totally different topic about leaves. There's only two options here, alternate or opposite. By the way, someone pointed this out to me in the first lab section. The page numbers I have referenced here are lab manual pages, but this is my handout from the fall semester, and they changed lab manuals between fall and this spring semester. So these page numbers are not correct, but it is in the same exercise, 18, on plant organs. So you can find that page where there may be some visuals of these different leaf characteristics. All right, so now we need to find in the pan two ornamental plants, and I have no idea what the name of them is. This one was collected outside of the door into this building, closest to the math building, and it had very attractive fuchsia colored flowers. And then this one was collected from the flower bed between this building and the math building. These are the two plants I want you to be looking at. All right. Now, looking at the description on your handout sheet, tell me which one, or raise up the one that has alternate leaf arrangement.
Is this the other one that was supposed to be?
This one. Which one has alternate leaf arrangement? That's the one. Not that one. That one. Yes, yes.
This is the outside.
Yes.
Yeah, this one.
Okay. Now, do you see what's alternate about the leaf arrangement? They are attached at intervals along the stem at irregular places.
I think it's missing.
But the other plant that you got out, and again, I don't know the name of it, the leaves are arranged directly opposite each other on the stem. So that's the opposite leaf arrangement. Everyone find that specimen. Yes, that's the one. That's the one. Okay. Y'all find this one?
This is the opposite.
Okay. Yes. Yes. All right, so that's two different characteristics of leaves you have to know about. Besides the anatomy, is leaf type and leaf arrangement. The third characteristic is the venation. So when you look at that crude sketch of mine, there's a vein that runs down the middle of the leaf blade called the midrib, but then there are lateral veins also. Now that's in that particular leaf that I sketched. Look at your handout sheet. How many types of leaf venation are there?
3.
3. And let's take the last one first. Parallel venation. Because that type of venation only occurs in what group of plants? The monocots. And you have only one specimen in your pan that has parallel venation. Please find that specimen.
So one that doesn't have a
Parallel
midrib.
venation. You know parallel, and you can see the veins in that leaf.
I think it's the same size. Yeah. It says no.
Did y'all find it?
I don't know. No.
Parallel would be.
Oh.
That makes sense.
Well,
Y'all find it? That's it?
Lord.
All right. The veins run the entire length of that leaf.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
This leaf comes from a plant like an iris, like tulips. Okay? Now, in the dicots, there are two options as far as leaf venation. There's pinnate venation and palmate venation. All right, so would you please pick up the, what else we got? Let's just go back to that magnolia leaf, because that's very much like my sketch up there on the board. All right, the original plant that you had, look at the venation and tell me which of the two is it, palmate or pinnate? Pinnate. How come?
So it's has the
The
middle
branching from the midrib.
branching from the midrib.
There's a midrib and with lateral branches. One midrib, okay? Now pick up, I don't know the name of this plant. It's a weed that we found because we were getting desperate on, I think we did this Tuesday. This is what it looks like. The leaves are scalloped on the margin, and they're attached to the stem alternately. But what you're concerned with is looking at the venation of the leaves. Did everyone find the specimen I'm referring to? And it's probably getting kind of droopy.
This kind of makes sense. So you've got like the branches, but then they branch off of that. It's like multiple branches.
Did y'all find it? No.
No? So then
I think we've got.
There it is.
which
Right there, right there. That's it.
That's not the same thing.
That's not it.
Pretty sure this and this are the same thing.
Is there a difference?
No. Like this one, I think you can see better. But okay, so see how
Oh no, because this has a midrib. This doesn't have a midrib.
it just looks all droopy.
See
I
look.
can't even tell it.
See look right here. It doesn't have a midrib.
Oh, okay. It's like
It just looks like veins. Like
branches out.
what I don't know.
It's almost like
I like it.
yeah, or maple.
There we go. That's
Okay, now look at the venation on the leaf of that weed. And how would you describe it?
Branches.
branching out.
Kind of like the fingers on my hand, right? And in fact, they use the term palmate to refer to that venation arrangement. All right, so how many different characteristics of leaves do you have to know for lab exam 2? Leaf type, leaf arrangement,
And
Venation.
venation.
and venation, as well as the anatomy. Any of those parts that are shown on that sketch, or you have it on 106, if pinned on lab exam 2, are potential test questions. All right? The last thing we need, oh, not the last thing, it's over here. John, you need to add something, maybe you want to put it on the back of your handout sheet. Over here, there are 5 specimens of plants. And the purpose of them is to show you that there are different functions of plant leaves. This first plant, everybody probably recognizes as aloe vera, is referred to as being a succulent plant. Now what that adjective succulent means is that some organ of the plant, in this case it's the leaves, stores water. What would be the significance of that?
Enables survival in arid climates.
It enables it to survive in arid climates. Exactly. Not all plants have succulent leaves. And so the ones, well, think of an oak tree. Would it be able to live in an arid climate? No. Okay? Secondly, here's a plant that has reproductive leaves. Now, you've got to pay attention because there's 2 plants in this pot. This one has succulent leaves, but this one that I have closest to the card has reproductive leaves. So if you'll look on the end of the leaf, there are some small plants that have developed. And if you were to take that plant and put it in soil with some water, those tiny plants that are attached to this leaf margin would grow into a new plant like this one. Now that's not sexual reproduction, that's vegetative reproduction, and you'll be talking about that in lecture. The third specimen is this cactus. And we normally don't think of a cactus as having leaves, but the structures that you and I call spines on a cactus are the leaves. And of course what's special about them is that they are not green, they're transparent. So if they're not green, they are not the photosynthetic organ of the cactus plant. What is? What are the organs of a plant? Let's go back to that. There's leaves, flowers, stems, and roots. Okay? Are the roots going to be photosynthetic?
No.
Why? Because they're underground. They're not exposed to light. Okay, so we're left with flowers, stems, and leaves. What's the typical photosynthetic organ of plants?
Chloroplast.
Leaves.
Leaves. Now I'm telling you, the leaves of the cactus are not green. Therefore, they are not photosynthetic. So what organ of the plant we call a cactus is photosynthetic?
Stem.
The stem. So what's the function of these leaves of the cactus since it's not photosynthesis?
Protection.
Store water.
Protection against what?
Predator.
Exactly. Would a herbivore eat this?
Yeah. Well, if it didn't have spines.
If it didn't have spines, but it has spines, and so herbivores leave that alone. But since you live in Texas, you ought to know this, that in South Texas, in South Texas, there's a saying about the vegetation there has spines, stickers, etc., something that could hurt you. What do the ranchers do when it hadn't rained, there's not green grass for the cattle to eat, and yet they have a whole bunch of prickly pear cactus in their fields? What do they do that enables the cows to eat the prickly pear cactus? How do they take them off? They use a torch and burn them off. It would be impractical. Somebody in the first lab said, well, they could peel it off. Yeah. How long would it take you to peel off enough spines for one cow to eat, much less a herd of them? So they